Hey Draw, welcome to Horsehead Bookends. As the end of 2019 draws to a close, it has had its ups and downs, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about my personal top 10 board games from 2019. There are some games that I still haven't gotten yet, or I have gotten to play, that came out this year, so there might be some addendums to this list that I will put out as soon as possible. But these are the top 10 games that I've played at least a handful of times. I'd have to say 3 or 4 times I've played these games to give myself a good, I guess, ranking system of how they work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count down the games from 10 to 1, give a little description of the game, show you a quick setup, and tell you what I liked about the game, why it made it on its top 10 list. So without further ado, let's get started with number 10. Number 10 on my list is Jaws by Ravensburger Game. Jaws is a one versus all game where the player takes on the role of Brody, Hooper, and Quint, and the shark itself. The game is played in 2 phases. The Amity Island phase, where you try to identify where the shark is while trying to stop people from getting eaten. And then there's the Orca phase, where you have the final showdown with Bruce the shark. Now this was a game I didn't realize I wanted. I didn't know it came out. I heard about it. A buddy of mine picked up at Target. We played it at his house. I think there's a video. I'll link it below. And since then I've played it a few times. It is a great type of deduction game in the first half, and then it's almost like a co-op planning game where you're trying to attack the shark. It's really intense. The game moves very fast. You're trying to work together. It's so stressful, yet winning is so rewarding. If you're playing Brody, Hooper, or Quint, tagging the shark just once, you love it. It's terrific. But when you're the shark, eating people is great. Like, it's so much fun. It's a great party game for 4 players. I probably wouldn't play it less than 3. So moving on to number 9. Cloudspire by Chip Theory Games. Cloudspire is a tower defense game with a modular neoprene board. Cloudspire takes place in the floating realm of Ankar, where different factions battle for power. Build up your army and march down the field to take over your opponent's base. Okay, so I actually did an unboxing and a playthrough of Cloudspire, and I will link that below as well. Now, Cloudspire is a bit MOBA, a bit tower defense game. 2 types of games I'm really not a fan of, but I love Chip Theory Games. I think they put out some great stuff. Quality is top-notch, and the game is actually really fun, and the lore is so deep. The only thing I really didn't like about it was that there was a lot of rule referencing to go back and forth on, and that's the only reason why it's at number 9. If the game was a little easier to pick up and play, it would have definitely scored higher on my list. But if you're a big fan of tower defense games, definitely check it out. It's great. Okay, so now number 8. Number 8 is Winterborne by Talon Strike Studios. The heart of the game is a deck builder with some medium weight gameplay. Move your Shaman, Explorer, and Viking clockwise around a rondel, performing actions to score victory points and move the seasons along. After 4 seasons, the game ends and the person with the most victory points wins. Now, this was a late addition to my top 10 list. I didn't realize the game came out. I am a big fan of the designer Brian Shore. He did Coldwater Crown and Freshwater Fly. Both are 2 excellent games. So I kind of missed out on this, but when I was able to get a copy, and it kind of just blew me away. It was a little confusing at first because I thought it was a little more difficult than it was, but once you get the handle of the game, it's super easy, it's super fun, it's a lot more thinky than you realize. You really need to plan out your rondel moves so you can score the most points at the end of the game. Dinogenex by Ninth Haven Games. Now, Dinogenex is a worker placement game that lets you control your very own dinosaur amusement park. Build fences and upgrade your park while keeping your dinos in check to have the most visitors and in turn score the most points. Now, I'm probably going to upset some people, but I am not a fan of Jurassic Park. I'm just not. I'm sorry. However, when I saw Dinogenex come out, and it was a worker placement game, which I really enjoy, and I looked at the components, and I was immediately like, I need to get this game, I need to check it out. If I don't like it, I'll sell it. Anyway, I got it, I fell in love with it. Johnny's played it, Johnny loves it. It was very easy to teach a 7-year-old how to play the game, and we had such an awesome time playing it. It was the dinosaur game I never wanted, but I got it, and it's awesome, and I think there's an expansion coming out next year, which I'm super psyched to play as well. Let's keep on keeping on with number 6. Edge of Darkness by Alderac Entertainment Group. Edge of Darkness is another deck builder, but with slightly different mechanics. It is a group deck building, and everyone shares the same deck. However, it's not a co-op game. The threat system is a bit gimmicky by dropping cubes down a tower for a random outcome, but it makes the game a bit more interesting than drawing cubes from a bag. Having a variety of locations to make the game different every time also was a big plus. Now, Edge of Darkness popped up on my Kickstarter feed, and at first I wasn't kind of into it, but then I saw it was a deck builder. Love deck builders. Had a bit of worker placement mechanic. Love that too. And it did have all these various locations, so you could change the game up so it'll be kind of different every time. Alright, it sold me. It did have this weird tower, it does have this weird tower cube drop mechanic to assign threat across 3 locations, which is neat, but I don't think you necessarily need it to play the game. If you dumped the threat cubes in a bag and randomly drew them, it would have the same effect, but I think it just gives it a little something extra. Now, I know the card drafting and the card slotting mechanic into these sleeves is very similar to Mystic Veil, put out by AEG as well, but I've never played that, so I can't compare it. However, I think it was a great deck builder, so that's why it is on my list. Court of the Dead by Project Raygun. Court of the Dead is an area control game set in the underworld, where 3 factions, Bone, Flesh, and Spirit, battle for supremacy against the heaven and the underworld. Now, I enjoy a really good area control dudes on a map style game. I liked Blood Rage. I liked Rising Sun. There's tons of other ones. Kemet and Inish, things like that. Rising Sun is my favorite. For some reason, I just loved it. I designed a solo mode for it. So Court of the Dead, I saw was somewhat similar with little differences. I backed it on Kickstarter. It came in. Production value, production quality was amazing. I did have a broken mini at first. Contacted the company. They sent a replacement immediately. So customer service was fantastic. And I fell so much in love with this game that I also designed a solo mode for it, because with area control games you need at least 3 people sometimes, and sometimes you don't have 3 people. So I came up with this quick little card deck that acts as an AI. I think it works really good. It's posted on Board Game Geek. I will try to post a link to it below in the notes if I can. But anyway, I love it. I think it's great. I think more people should play it if you haven't checked it out already. So it is number 5 on my list, which is pretty high. So I spent a lot of time playing this game and refining my solo rules, so I enjoy it. Alright, we're down into the top 5. Well, we hit 5 with Court of the Dead. So now we're going to keep moving on for number 4. Black Rose Wars by Ludus Magnus Studios. Black Rose Wars is another deck builder, however this one has a modular board. In the game, you're a wizard of the Black Rose Order trying to become the Supreme Magister. Battle your opponents by using the various room abilities to set traps, summon creatures, and attack other mages to secure a victory. Just be careful when casting spells though, really powerful ones can weaken the room. When a room takes too much damage, it no longer grants its ability. Now Black Rose Wars is one of those games that shows up on Kickstarter and you're like, this game looks awesome. I sold some of my old games. I have some extra money in my PayPal account. Let me back it and I'll wait for it to come in. You back it, you forget about it, you don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, you're getting a email saying that, hey, we're shipping out now, so be on the lookout for your game. Okay, so I was on the lookout for the game, and it arrived, and I opened it up, and I played it, and I fell in love with it. It was awesome, from the mini sculpts, to the way the game plays, to the deck building mechanic. I think everything was great. I understand they had some shipping issues, and I mean, I'm still waiting for pieces like a lot of the Kickstarter extras and the solo components haven't shipped yet, but that's fine. The game is that good that I'm still gonna play it. I loved it. I think it's great. I think you should check it out if you like a deck builder with various abilities and a modular board with which the locations have special powers. It was I really enjoyed it. If you get a chance to, definitely check it out if you can. Here we are at number 3. Now this one is a very recent addition to my top 10 list. I wasn't sure I was getting this game in 2019, but I did, and I played it a bunch of times in the past few days, and when it's available, it's, I think, gonna explode. It's really that good. So, at number 3, The Magnificent by Boardgames. First of all, I want to give thanks to my buddy Mike, who was at PAX U, who picked up this game for me. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have it until well into 2020. But, so thank you very much, Mike. I appreciate it. The game hasn't been released in the US yet, but I believe you can import it from Filbert. They're a French company. They deliver to the US, and their shipping's not terrible, so you could look into that. The Magnificent is a dice drafting placement game that puts you into the role of a traveling performer. Strategically build up your camp while learning new tricks. When you're ready to perform, use your best tricks to sell the most amount of tickets per round. After 3 rounds, the game is over and the person who sold the most tickets wins. Okay, so let's start. The Magnificent is a dice drafting worker placement game. It's very similar to, I guess, Trois, which is another dice drafting game. Dice drafting worker placement type of game, where you actually have to build up certain things in your board to hit certain goals to get more victory points. I did not know anything about this game until a couple months ago when I saw it pop up on the hot top 10 list on Board Game Geek, and I clicked on it. I read about the game. I was like, this looks like everything I love about gaming. Let me hunt it down. Found out it wasn't being released in the US yet, so I pre-ordered it, I think from Miniature Market. But my buddy was at PAX U. He saw it. He grabbed me a copy, and I think I've played it 4 times already so far. It's really, really good. If you're into a dice drafting, dice placement game, check it out as soon as you can. It's fantastic. Alright, we're down to the top 2. Only 2 games left. And both of these games I kind of was wary about putting them on there because they weren't completely new. Anyway, let's get on to it. Here's number 2. Nanty Narking by Phalanx Games. Nanty Narking is a reskin of Discworld on Morpor. It is an area control game set in Victoria, England, where the players take on the role of famous literary characters, each with their own specific win condition. Possibly the easiest game to teach on my top 10 list. You look at the icons on the card and play or don't play that action. Very easy. Okay, so I never played Discworld. I wanted to play it. It was hard to get. It was a very expensive game. I never had a chance to try it. Nanty Narking was a reskin of that, and it was put out on Kickstarter. The game designer was Martin Wallace. Some of you may know him, some of you not. He did Pillars of the Earth, Brass, some really excellent games. So when I saw this up on Kickstarter at a very reasonable price point, I was like, you know what? I need to play this game and see what it's about. It came in, and I've played the game so many times. I've taught it to so many people. It's such an easy game to pick up and play, and it's fun, and the rounds can go very fast, and what's really nice, it has a sort of deduction-like quality of it, but it's not a deduction game where you're trying to figure out what your opponents are trying to do so you can stop them or try to get to your win condition before they get to their win condition. So it's this crazy area control race game that's great, and it's so much fun, and it has a little bit of a take that mechanic, which I'm not a huge fan of, but in this game it works out really well. So I can't enjoy this game enough. I love it. I'm so happy I backed it. If you get a chance to, definitely check it out. So on to game number 1. I had reservations about putting this game on here just because it wasn't a new game. Dune by Gale Force 9 Games. Now, I never had a chance to play the original Dune that came out in the late 70s, I think, by Avalon Hill Games. And I loved the book, and yes, I love the David Lynch film. It was one of my favorite films. I still love it. I'm super excited for the remake. Dune is primarily an area control game with variable player powers, variable win conditions, and a bidding component of not only how to obtain items, but how to battle with other players. I absolutely love this game, and I wish I had a bunch of people to play it with all of the time. It is so good. You play one of 6 factions in the Dune universe. Each has their own powers, each has their own win condition, and you're basically battling it out on Arrakis to win. Like, for example, someone needs to control the most areas, the cities on Arrakis. The Bene Gesserits have to predict who's going to win and in what round, which is very hard. But when someone wins that way, it hurts because you're just about to win, and they turn around and be like, "Oh, hey, I predicted this, so I win." So they kind of just steal the victory from you. The battles are terrific because you're actually bidding on how many soldiers you're putting into battle, and if you put a leader into battle, and then when you reveal the leader, did you win? Did you outbid your opponent? And then you might outbid your opponent, but then the winds come, the wind shift, and wipes out everyone in a certain territory. So all your hard work was for naught, and you have to start over again. It's so good. And yes, this is something I have been slowly working on a solo component for, where you can play all 6 factions at once. And even if you, not with yourself, even if you have a group of 4, you can set up these extra 2 AI systems. So everyone can play because it plays the best at 6. You can play at 4. It's good. It's better than good. It's really good at 4. 3 is pretty good. I wouldn't play it less than 3. 2's not that great. But you have a full 6-person game of Dune. It's awesome. The only problem, it's a little difficult. It's a little hard to teach, especially if you don't have gamers playing with you. So I had to take that into consideration, but still, it was my absolute favorite game that came out in 2019, so it took the #1 spot immediately. So there it is, that's my top 10 list for 2019. Yes, there are certain games that did come out in 2019 that I either haven't played or just barely fell short of the list. And maybe I'll make another video about what games I didn't like in 2019, or what games honorable mention type of games. I do have 2 honorable mentions. One is for Tricarian Collector's Edition. The only reason it's not on the list is because the game came out prior to 2019 and they didn't change anything enough to make it a new game, so I kind of would feel weird putting that on the list. And the other honorable mention is for Snowdonia, the master set. Again, another game that didn't come out in 2019, and nothing was really changed enough to make it a new game. Alright, so that was the top 10 list of 2019 based on everything I've played throughout the year. So I'll probably do another video closer to the end of the year that has some addendums to it. Maybe I'll do the games that didn't make my list, games that I was disappointed in, things like that. Because I think there's a game coming for Christmas that my wife got me that I don't have yet. So we'll see. But anyway, that's my list. Feel free to share your top 10 list below. I'd love to see what everyone else's top 10 list is. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, please don't forget to click on subscribe. You'll get notified when I upload some new videos. Any questions or comments, post them below. You can totally disagree with my top 10 list. It's just my opinion. I'm sure everyone has their own top 10 list, which I'd love to see too, because maybe there's a game I forgot and I'll have to edit to an addendum later. But other than that, I'll talk to you later.